Waiting on Evan here.
Lindsay, are you going to choose on us to answer a question?
Yeah, I can call you guys out.
Okay.
I guess we're up.
Ready? All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences Ask an Ambassador event. This is for the natural sciences and math group. So if you are in those majors, you're definitely in the right spot. And the purpose of today is really just to answer any questions you guys have about the college, about arts and sciences, your major, campus life, anything you want to ask us. We have 5 ambassadors, including me, here today, specifically to answer those questions. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Beecham. I am a senior biology major and neuroscience minor here at the University of Kentucky. I'm from Erlanger, Kentucky, which is kind of a small town in northern Kentucky. I have been an ambassador for a few years now, and I am coming at you from a classroom in the Jacob Science Building. So I don't know if you can kind of see some of the like TVs and chairs and tables and stuff like that. But this is where you'll be spending a lot of time, especially if you are a STEM major here. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm going to have the other ambassadors also introduce themselves. So starting with Cameron, you're the first on my screen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Sloan. I'm a junior neuroscience major with a biology minor, so I'm the opposite of Lindsay. I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky. It's a small town in eastern Kentucky, and I'm coming to you from a lecture hall in the Jacob Science Building.
All right, thanks, Cameron. Evan, you want to introduce yourself next?
Hey guys, my name is Evan Conder. I'm a senior biology major here at UK. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, so not too far away, but I've been an ambassador for a couple years also with Lindsay. And today I am at the Student Center. I'm on the 3rd floor at the top, so you all can kind of see some people below me.
All right, perfect. Flora, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi there. My name is Flor Musinho, and I am a junior biology major with a minor in anthropology. This is my first year as an ambassador, and I'm coming at you guys from the Martin Luther King Center. It's actually a really great place to find any resources and any connections. So, this can be welcome to anybody in the center, and it's located right in the Student Center.
All righty, and then Lauren.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren Deucepole, and I'm from a small town called Hurricane, West Virginia. It's only about 2.5 hours away though, and I am a triple major in mathematical economics, and business management. And I am currently in the bottom of the student center in what we call the Cat's Den, and it's just like a little place to come. You can do some work, hang out, eat with some friends. They have like a pool table back there. You can go play some pool or games in between classes. So that's where I am.
Awesome. So hopefully through our multiple locations around campus, you can get a small idea of what being a UK student would be like, having classes either in the Jacob Science Building, going to the Student Center, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys have any questions that you can think of, go ahead and put them in the chat in the YouTube live area. And like I said, that is our whole goal for today, is just to answer some questions. Hopefully teach you all about why we love UK so much and why we not only go here, but have signed up to be ambassadors to try to inform all of you guys about how all the great opportunities at UK. So how about, as the chat is kind of getting rolling, as you guys are thinking of questions, why don't we start with just like why you all chose to go to UK in the first place? Cameron, do you want to start?
Sure. So I chose to go to UK because I'm from a small town and I wanted to meet new people and experience a bigger city. Lexington isn't huge, but it's definitely bigger than where I'm from. And I was also just so interested in all the resources and opportunities that I knew I could gain from coming to the University of Kentucky. I've been able to get involved in so many things, so many organizations, meet so many people, and research if you're interested in that. So there's just a lot of things to get involved in.
Great. Evan, what about you? Why did you decide to come to UK?
So coming from Louisville, I knew I wanted to stay in Kentucky, but I loved how Kentucky, it's the flagship school of the state. So there are so many opportunities here. Lexington is a college town. It's centered around the university. So I loved being able to be near a city and be near, the arts and the restaurants and all of that of the city, but still have a protected campus nearby. I was really attracted to the medical scene here in Lexington because I was interested in going to medical school. And so I really liked how there were a lot of different hospitals and shadowing and research opportunities all really close by. So it offered a really collaborative environment that I loved. So.
Great. And what about you, Flor?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention, but I'm originally from Wisconsin. I actually graduated from high school here in Lexington, and I got to tour UK's campus a lot when it came to my high school. We always had those programs where we got to visit, and I really liked how the campus felt. Like, even though it was within Lexington and I was kind of hesitant to go to college somewhere in the same town, I felt like campus life was actually very much centralized, and it was actually its own little hub outside of Lexington. So it's kind of like a city within a city, I like to think, and I really like that about it.
Yeah, I think that's something that's very common for students who are from Lexington. A lot of people say, oh, I want to go away for college, but the University of Kentucky is its own experience. Even though it is in the city of Lexington, there's so many other things that UK brings to the table. So I think that's great. Yeah. And then Lauren, why did you choose UK?
Yeah, so I chose UK because I'm from West Virginia, and really in West Virginia, there's really only one other big university you can go to. And I didn't really think that's where I would fit in. And so I was looking around, and I came to Kentucky a lot throughout high school because I came to dance camps here with the dance team. And I toured, and I just fell in love with the campus and the opportunities it has. And being in math econ, that major really isn't offered anywhere else, that combination. And so I found that unique major. And like they said, Lexington is an amazing place to live, especially coming from a place where there's not that many things to do. There's a lot to do in Lexington, and that really attracted me to UK as well.
Yes, I agree. And that's part of why I decided to come to UK. Being from Northern Kentucky, it was like kind of the perfect distance from home. I could still drive back if I wanted to, but it also felt like I was getting away and kind of experiencing something new in a fresh city. And also, just to reiterate what Cameron and Evan talked about, since they are also, all three of us are pre-med, they do have amazing resources on campus, like the medical school is right there, so you can get a lot of shadowing and research hours, and that really attracted me to UK. We actually had a few questions roll in. So the first one was from Lane, and they said, how did you choose your major? And Lauren mentioned being a triple major. Is that common? So Lauren, do you want to start with that? How did you choose your major, and why 3?
Yes. So I originally chose my major because I had originally planned on just being a business management major. And over the summer before my freshman year, I had discovered that math econ was a degree that I could get. And I looked into it more, and I thought, oh, that sounds like an awesome major for me, because I found that it was that perfect middle ground between that analytical math classes and all that, and also getting that business experience, and that econ kind of it puts it together. So it's not just a business degree or just a math degree. It's that perfect middle ground. So that's why I chose that degree. And then later on in my freshman year, I decided that I had enough room to still graduate in 4 years and add that business management degree, which is why I decided to double major. And then being a math econ degree or major, if you want to get an econ degree, you only have to take one more class, which is why I'm a triple major, because it's just one extra class for that math econ and econ degree. So I haven't heard of too many people being a triple major. However, at UK, they do a really, really good job of making sure if triple majoring is something you want to do, they're going to let you get there. They're going to figure out a plan, whether that be summer classes or whatever, to get you to graduate whenever you want. And, the amount of degrees you want, they're going to work with you to get where you want to go.
Yes, I agree completely with that, Lauren. I only have the one major of biology, but I am minoring in neuroscience, and I know neuroscience and biology are very common to do double majors in, or like a major and minor, just because there's a lot of great overlap between those classes. and your advisors make it really easy to be able to make sure your classes are matching up, make sure that you're graduating on time and all of that good stuff. So I'll just kind of go into why I chose biology for a second. So I chose biology because one, I'm very interested in it. It's kind of always been my passion growing up, like through high school. I really enjoyed my biology and anatomy classes. And I also knew that I was hoping to go to medical school. And while medical school doesn't require like one specific major, the biology major pairs really well with the medical school prerequisites. So to get into medical school, often you have to take your intro biology classes, intro chem classes, organic chemistry, physics, all of those science type classes. And if I can take those and have those count towards my major, I thought that would probably be the easiest. So it's kind of two things for me, like it paired very well with the pre-med track and it also interested me a lot. Flora, do you want to talk about why you chose your major?
Yeah, so actually, when I chose biology, I knew I wanted to do research. That's actually the main thing that I wanted to do. And I felt like the same thing when it came to high school. I really enjoyed my biology courses and my anatomy courses, but I wasn't really set on if I wanted to do medical research or if I was going to end up doing what I'm doing now, which is conservation. I'm kind of focusing more on the environmental aspect of biology. And I think that's what's really amazing about this major is that it's pretty broad. You can actually go into different subfields, essentially, whether it be conservation or actually medical or being in a lab. And I realized that that's something I wanted to veer away from, being in a lab 24/7, but still doing my own research and conducting my own experiments really piqued my interest still.
Yeah, that's great. And Cameron, you can actually answer this next question. It's kind of tied into the previous question, but someone specifically said that they were interested in neuroscience and they're wondering why you decided on that major as opposed to something else.
So I wasn't completely set on neuroscience when I came to college. I think I went from chemistry to biology and then to neuroscience. I changed around. But once I got to neuroscience, I knew that that was what I wanted to do. I was just thinking how for 4 years you have to choose a major that you truly are interested in. And I really did love biology and it did go well with the pre-medicine prerequisites, but neuroscience does also. And I was thinking once I got to my junior and senior years and I have already completed the prereqs, what classes would I be taking with biology versus neuroscience? With biology, it was more animal or plant-based. And then with neuroscience, I'm taking a class right now that's like neurobiology of brain disorders. And it was just something that interested me more than biology or any other pre-medicine major. But that's why I ended up with neuroscience. And I'm so happy I did. I love it.
Yeah, I really like the neuroscience program here. Just being like a neuroscience minor, I've been able to take a few of those upper level electives, and they're very, very interesting. Like I'm in a sleep and circadian rhythm class right now. I'm taking a neuropharmacology class. So it kind of is, while neuroscience and biology and chemistry, like those majors might be kind of similar your first few years as you're taking those, introduction classes, but especially as you get into your upper level classes, you get to tailor your classes like towards your major and make sure it's something that you're interested in. And then Evan, if you want to take this next one, because someone asked, they said, I hear that some majors are extremely competitive. Is biology a competitive major here? If so, what experiences did you have to go through?
So with biology, it's definitely a difficult major, but I wouldn't say that it's competitive. I think a lot of the students, we all form study groups, we're working together a lot. There's a lot of collaboration in the major, and it's felt like a very personal major to me. So I wouldn't say it's competitive necessarily, but because a lot of the students are pre-professional, we are kind of on the same track. So going through biology, we've done research together or we've worked on different internships or study abroad, things like that, that we've gone to kind of supplement our biology major together. But does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I was just going to add on to, normally you think of like competitive majors, like, oh, you're trying to fight to like get into the major, but there's no like cap on the number of biology majors that we can have at UK. So like if you're interested in biology, you can feel free to major in it. There's no like competition trying to get into the major, if that makes sense. And then just to reiterate like what Evan was saying, I feel like, you know, as a biology major, I've always found a lot of support in the group. It is one of the larger majors on campus, so you have a lot of other students to kind of help you through those classes, help you succeed like on exams, help you find research opportunities and shadowing opportunities. So I would definitely say that UK is definitely more of a place that like encourages and uplifts other people rather than like a competition, kind of see who can beat out the other person, if that makes sense. All right, we have another question that just came in. It is, do all of you have a minor? Is that required at UK? Let's see. Does someone want to start with this one? Maybe, I think Flor, right? You have a minor in anthropology?
It's actually not necessarily required. It kind of just depends on your major and your pathway. Personally, for me, I am a BA. So I have a Bachelor of Arts in biology, not a BS. So with a BA, I'm actually required to have a minor pathway. And I actually chose anthropology before I even switched up to a BA. That was actually something very recent that I chose to do. I want to say actually a couple of weeks ago, just because I realized I want to do conservation biology. So that way I didn't have to take like organic 2 or physics 2. So I'll just be taking the first intro level classes to each of those classes. But yeah, it's something that you can always take. Maybe you realize that you're taking a lot of core classes that are required for your major that kind of go into a minor. So with me, a lot of my classes that I was taking were anthropology related. So I figured why not add on a minor to something that I actually really enjoyed. And I was able to go more in depth with the minor and realize that I actually really enjoyed a lot of the topics that were discussed within anthropology.
Yes, and Cameron, you also have a minor, correct?
Yes.
So I guess why did you choose to have a minor? Because we know, like Flor said, it's not required to have a minor. So how has that like helped you in any way?
So I chose the biology minor mainly because of my pre-medicine track, and the core biology classes are really helpful for the MCAT. So with a neuroscience major and a biology minor, the only thing that you have to add is evolution and genetics, because everything else you just double dip and it counts for both. So for me, the only extra 2 classes that I had to take was evolution and genetics, which are 2 very helpful classes for the MCAT. And I honestly, coming into college, had enough hours to where I could graduate in 3 years instead of 4. So adding a minor just helped me, stay here for 4 years.
Yeah, my situation is very similar to Cameron's. I had the room for it in my schedule, and then also since ours are kind of flipped, but same thing goes where since I'm a bio major and a neuroscience minor, I only had to take 3 extra classes to get my minor, and I'm doing research in neuroscience. So I was just like, why not? Like get to kind of learn the neuroscience in a little more formal setting, like in a classroom, and then get to practice it in the research lab. And we actually have a question about that. So someone asked, have any of you participated in shadowing or research? If so, did you think it's difficult to find people or times to shadow and or conduct research? Evan, I believe you've done some like shadowing and research. Do you want to kind of start us off with that question?
Yeah, so for shadowing, what I did, there is a program called Observation Learning and Experience Program, OLE for short. And if you look it up on UK, you'll find the website really easy. And through that program, you apply for a badge, and it gives you a 6-month badge to shadow a physician at UK. Now, the physician, you do have to come in contact with yourself. But for that, UK is a teaching hospital, so a lot of the physicians welcome you under their wing, and they want to show you their job, show you the hospital environment. So what I did was I sent out basically mass emails to a lot of different physicians and just explaining why I was interested in their field of work. And then I got some emails back, and I was able to find a sponsor that way for shadowing. And then for research, I kind of did the same thing. I went onto UK's research page, and I looked through a lot of the professors for biology, neuroscience, psychology, a bunch of different subjects actually. And I sent out several emails to professors who I was interested in working under. And then I interviewed with a couple of them, and then I selected a professor who I would like to research with. And I did that for 2 semesters. So both of those things are very cool and interesting experiences that I would recommend to anybody interested in them. But you do have to kind of put yourself out there, which is great practice to, you know, write the cold emails, introduce yourself, do the interviews, things like that. So.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Evan. And I think Floor, right, you've done some research as well.
Yeah, actually, the research that I've done was actually conducted through my high school. I actually made those connections early on, and it was through a professor, Dr. Jim Power at the Center for Applied Energy Research. And the way that I got to do it is it was actually through a program that was funded by the state. And what I got to do is I actually got to continue it throughout my freshman year of college. And kind of like what Evan said, it's making those connections and actually being interactive when it comes to your classes. If you know a professor, they probably are doing research on campus, and you can always kind of say hi and hello at the end of class. And you could always, if you're interested in their research, you could ask them if they are willing to take on a student. And for the most part, they are, you know, whatever they have available, or they'll get you connected with another professor that does have availability.
Awesome. And Cameron, do you want to touch on I know you have some like specific experience in cancer research and stuff like that.
Yes, so I'm a part of a program. It's called the Action Program, and it's for students from Appalachian counties or students who have lived in an Appalachian county before. So if you, for example, if you lived in Pike County and then you moved to Louisville, you're still eligible to apply for it. But that program has just allowed me to get involved in shadowing and cancer research. It's still, you still do have to reach out to the people yourself and the physicians yourself, but they are so willing to let you shadow them since you are in that program. All I had to do was email a physician who worked at the Markey Cancer Center, and I've been shadowing him every Monday for this entire semester for like 4 hours. So they're so helpful. And then with research, you also have to reach out to them, but there is a list on the Markey Cancer Center's website of the researchers, and you just have to email them and tell them you're a part of the program, and they're very willing. And I will be doing melanoma research this summer with Dr. Plattner. So.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And another reason why UK is so special, because all of our health sciences buildings are right here on campus. So we have the medical school, dental school, nursing, pharmacy, everything in the Markey Cancer Center. It's all right here on campus. So when you're asking about like, oh, is it easy? Like, do you have time to shadow? Definitely, because you can just walk 5 minutes to the, doctor's office, shadow, and then go straight to your class. So that's actually what I did, not this past fall, but the fall before that. I shadowed an obstetrician and gynecologist. So I would spend, I think it was like Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I would go in and watch a lot of C-sections and like babies be born, and it was amazing. And then I would just walk the 5-minute walk to my physics class at 2 o'clock that afternoon. So that's something that's really special to UK. It makes shadowing very accessible for the students. And additionally, if you're like a little nervous to, reach out to those physicians kind of by yourself and get those shadowing hours, there's also a program through our career center called the Summer Medical Observership Program, SMOP for short. And that program actually reaches out to the physicians for you and pairs you with doctors who have already said, yes, I want to take on an undergraduate student, I want to show them around and get them interested in medicine. So they've already agreed to that. So that's a really great program that pairs you up with the physician over the summer. I did that. I shadowed in internal medicine, and that was really exciting for me. And I'll just touch on my research real quick as well. So I also have worked in the lab for about 3 years now, and we're studying Alzheimer's disease and sleep, and how kind of sleep fragmentation can progress Alzheimer's disease. It's definitely one of my favorite things I've been involved in the UK so far. So I would encourage all of you to look into research that you could be interested in. The UK Office of Undergraduate Research has a website that lists all of the professors that are doing research and their programs and like what what kind of research they're doing. So whether you're interested in medicine or if you're interested in like political science or environmental science, anything you can think of, there's going to be a research project on it, and you can find and get involved in that. And also, I'll mention quickly, if you are in the STEMCATS LLP, which is a living learning program that is like kind of hosted by the College of Arts and Sciences, they pair you up with a research mentor your freshman year of college. So right off the bat, you're paired with a research mentor, and you get that research experience your very first year. And that way it's not you kind of having to reach out or do the look on the website and find something yourself. They kind of have already done that for you. So that is an option. Another question came in from Barrett. He said, how do you apply for a minor? Is there still time for upcoming freshmen to apply for a minor starting in the 2021-2022 school year? So anyone, if you want to just jump in, who has the answer to that?
I believe just like when it comes to changing your major, it's actually a window when you can add a minor. I know right now with COVID, it's pretty easy to, at any point in the semester, to add on a minor if that's what you decide to do. Before COVID, when everything was in person, you would just have to go to the actual office where you meet with like an advisor, and they like put you into like whatever room it is that you need to go to. I believe it's in POT 202. Not quote me on that, but you can go in there and actually change it. There's iPads set up for you to either change your major or add a minor. But right now with COVID, the way that they're doing it is you actually go into My UK, and there's a specific little header on, I believe, the right-hand side, and it'll say like add or drop a minor.
I will also say that when you go to orientation, you can talk to someone there or your advisor there, and they can add the minor for you. So you definitely still have time.
Yes, it's very easy. I would encourage you all to do it if that's something you're interested in. Another question we have says, with a biology major, what are all the different options for a minor? Evan, do you want to take that one?
There really are no limits for what minor you want to choose. Now, some minors, like we had talked about earlier, like neuroscience, it's going to be a lot easier to incorporate it into your major, talking about overlap in the same classes. But I, for a couple semesters, did have a political science minor. So there really is no constraints there. It's whatever you are interested in. It's just whether or not you have time to fulfill that minor.
Yes, the opportunities are endless, and that's kind of the nice thing about the College of Arts and Sciences, is because we have so many different options for majors and minors. So you can be interested in biology, but then want to minor in mathematical economics, which is what Lauren is doing, for example. So anything you're interested in, you can definitely just add on some classes. Like Evan was saying, if it's something that's not super related to your major, you might be taking a few extra classes. But most minors are just about 18 credit hours, maybe 21 credit hours total. So that's like 6 or 7 classes, so it's not too bad. Let's see, Lane asked, Lindsay mentioned STEMCATs, and I'm still thinking about living learning programs. Is this the one I should join as a biology major? So I don't think, has anyone here done the STEMCATs LLP? Yes, Flora, do you want to talk about it then?
Yeah, actually, with STEMCATs, you don't actually have to be a STEM major. It's actually for STEM interest. So I actually had friends that lived on my floor that were in the STEMCATs program, but they were actually like word majors or even English majors. So if you want to get started on research and you really want to get kind of like your wet feet pretty early on, there is a fast track program that's attached to the STEMCATs LLP. So you actually get to move on to campus earlier than most LLPs. And you actually get to do like kind of like mock chemistry, biology classes, and I believe a calc class as well. And that was kind of like a week before most people got to move on, like before Big Blue move-in, I think. And it was really fun. It was really entertaining. Like I think what I got to experience from that is kind of what the workload was going to look like for each of those classes. And like Lindsay mentioned earlier, I did get to do research my second semester. That's how it works. So the first semester, you're taking this class for an hour that basically tells you about all the different classes that are available to STEM majors, and there's like different professors that come in and talk about maybe what their research is. So then the second semester, when you get to choose your research, there's a huge list of all the different professors that are willing to take on STEM cats, and you get to work with them. So in my lab, it was actually a neuroscience lab with Dr. Liz Debsky, and we were actually like slicing salamander brains. So it was pretty interesting just to look at the regenerative properties. And there was about 8 students from the STEM cats program within that lab.
Awesome. Yes, so I mentioned I did not do STEMCats LLP, but I do have a lot of friends that were a part of it, and they absolutely loved it. Like Flora said, you get to live with, like-minded individuals who are interested in the STEM field. You get to do research, and you have your own kind of smaller classes within the STEMCats. So if you are interested in that, I would definitely encourage you all to, when you apply for housing, go ahead and apply to live in the STEMCats LLP. But we also have a lot of other living learning programs on campus as well. So I know there's some like for the honors program, there's some if you're interested in like business, or the other one that the College of Arts and Sciences kind of sponsors is the International Village LLP, which is a really neat living learning program that pairs together students interested in international studies and like learning about different cultures of the world and international students. So often you're either going to be living with an international student, or you'll have an international student that's really close to you, like either across the hall or like next to you, and just kind of immerses you in that different culture. So that's something else that you can look into as well if you're interested in the living learning programs. And for most of those, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that all of them do not require you to be like a certain major. So say you are a biology major, but you're really interested in, international communities, you can still live in that living learning program. Let's see, we have another question. It says, I am joining the IHRC, which is the Healthcare LLP this fall. Do any of you have any thoughts on that specific program? Let's see, has anyone here done the Healthcare Living Learning program? Okay, I don't think any of us have specifically been in that, so we can try to get you like the email of someone that has. But from what I've heard from it, because one of my best friends was actually a resident advisor, so an RA in that dorm, and he absolutely loved it. He is a nursing major, so the healthcare LLP kind of fit his needs a little bit better than the STEMCats did, because he was less interested in research and kind of the hard sciences and more interested in like the human connection part of it. So I know in the healthcare LLP, you especially get a lot of like nursing, physical therapy, human health sciences, and of course like your pre-medical students as well. I don't know specifics about what programs they hold though. So I know STEMCats has those like special classes that Flora was mentioning, but we can try to get you in touch with someone who knows a little bit more about that LLP for the person who asked that, Ray Bird. All right, another question we have, who has been your favorite professor and your favorite class? Lauren, do you want to start us off with this one?
So my favorite professor was definitely Dr. Gail Hoyt. I had her for Econ 201, and it's my first econ class ever. I really didn't know much about it, even though I was going in and it's not as my major, but she just made me fall in love with the major. She's so enthusiastic, and she wanted every student to be successful, and she did everything she could to make sure that happened, holding office hours, easily available by email, or, you could just email her and say, hey, I need a meeting, or just walk in and she would help you out with different homeworks, or if you had a question about tests, anything like that. And she made lectures like really fun, and it was enjoyable to be there, and you weren't just watching slides, but you were interacting with the material and stuff like that. And then my favorite class would probably be Econ 391, which was a business statistics class, because I really liked how, again, like I'm a math econ major, so I liked how I got to use my mathematical skills, but kind of in a business setting, and see like, oh, in this specific business case, like I got to run data analytics and be like, oh, you can see how this correlates to that, or how this affects that. And so I really liked that class, and that was probably my favorite class.
Awesome. Cameron, you want to go next?
Sure. So I actually have two favorite professors. One is Dr. Ashley Stillman. She teaches Organic Chemistry 1 and Organic Chemistry 2. And for those classes to be such difficult classes, she makes it as easy as possible. She is a great professor. She explains things so well. I didn't get to know her that well, but that's because I didn't have to ask that many questions because of her lecture style. She's just a great professor all around. And then number two, well, they're equal, but Dr. Sherrittfield, Dr. Linda Sherrittfield, she teaches my neuropharmacology class, and she teaches other classes too, but this is the only class I've had her for. And she's also my faculty advisor, and she's just so helpful and so enthusiastic and such a great person and a great professor as well. And she's also the dean of undergraduate, the director of undergraduate studies of neuroscience. She's like the head of the neuroscience major, so she's the best. And then my favorite class would probably be the neurobiology of brain disorders class that I'm in right now. It's just really interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds very unique, so that's exciting. Evan, you want to go next?
My favorite professor, sorry, at UK has been Dr. Krupa. He teaches Bio 303, which is evolution. That was also my favorite class. But he was just a really cool professor, and the way he structured the class, he taught through storytelling because, he said evolutionarily, the way humans developed learning was through storytelling. And so there was never PowerPoints with lots of notes, and he never read off his slides. He would have a topic, and then he would just tell stories about it and his personal experiences. And he's been really involved in research and has traveled a lot. So every topic had a story behind it. And so even though it was a difficult class, I didn't have to study super hard for it because I remembered his stories. And I just thought that was really neat. I've never had a professor approach a class that way. So that was definitely my favorite.
Yes, I also took that class, and I like that he definitely had a different teaching style than I had been used to, and I really enjoyed that. Flor, you want to let everyone know what your favorite professor and classes have been?
Yeah, so my favorite professor so far has been Dr. Pete Mirabito, simply because he's very welcoming and he understands that the subject that he teaches, which is genetics, is really complex and really hard. He also teaches intro to biology, which is 148, and he's very, very understanding that it's a really difficult class. So he creates that time for you to come in during his office hours. I've spent an hour and a half just talking to him, going over through my exams because he's so willing and wants me to understand what the topics are. And he's willing to like talk it through and go and explain it in different ways so that any student will understand it. And I think he just keeps it really real and honest with the students as well. And he understands if people aren't doing really well, he does polls during class. So if he sees that the averages aren't where they're supposed to be, he'll stop right then and there and go over the topic again in a different way to make sure it clicks, and we'll reassess essentially to make sure everyone understands.
Awesome. And I'll kind of let you guys know what my favorite professor in class have been. So my favorite professor is Dr. Marilyn Duncan. She's in the neuroscience department, and she is teaching my sleep and circadian rhythms class that I'm in right now. And sleep has always been really interesting to me. I mean, we spend like a third of our life doing it, and I really like the way that she teaches that class. And she also does a lot of interactive type, like a teaching style where instead of just her lecturing, she has a lot of us read research articles and kind of present them ourselves. So it's a lot more interactive than just kind of lecturer and student. But another really cool thing is she happens to be like the person in charge of my research as well. So she's kind of been more of a mentor and a professor to me throughout the past 4 years that I've been in college. So it's really neat to kind of take her class in my last semester as a senior after I've already had her like help me so much, not only through research, but through the medical school application process, just her helping me with classes in general. So that's kind of the special thing about UK is I feel like the professors really do care about you all, and you can form those close connections with professors that way. If you ever need anything in the future, especially letters of recommendation, or even just a pick me up on a hard day, they're there for you. So she's definitely my favorite professor. And then my favorite class, which might surprise a lot of people, was actually biochemistry, which is probably one of the hardest classes here that you have to take to get into medical school. But I really liked it. I thought the content was very interesting because you kind of go through metabolism in general. So how, when you eat food, what happens? How do you, like, understanding diabetes and like hyper and hypoglycemia. It was all just very interesting to me. It kind of felt like the first medical like class that I took. So yeah, let's see. We have a question from Anissa. She said, "What advice do you have for studying?" You want to start with Lauren again?
Yes, I can start. I definitely think that my advice for studying is find what works for you, which I know is a little bit vague, but not everybody studies the same way. Some people just read through their notes and that works for them. But I really like picking Quizlets for certain classes, it also depends on the course content. For my math classes, I like to go through and do practice problems over and over and over again. But maybe for something more like vocab based, like my econ classes, there's a lot of vocab there. I'll make Quizlets and go through those. And my biggest piece of advice to studying is start early. Don't start the day before the test because you're not going to get anywhere. Look and see ahead, maybe even 2 weeks or before, and just start reviewing some material from the beginning. And that way you only have to study like in smaller increments and then build up rather than like right before the test. Okay, I'm going to spend 4 hours just cramming everything in. And so that really helps me too, is to just take it in smaller blocks and start earlier.
Yes, that is excellent advice for sure. Let's see, does anyone else want to add on to that, how they study?
I'll just say that most classes that you take will video the lecture. And they'll post it on Canvas so that you can go rewatch the lecture if you missed something or if you didn't fully understand something. And what I would do is I would go to lecture. I did this most of my freshman and sophomore year until COVID hit. I would go to lecture, and then in the afternoon when I would have more time, I would rewatch it and take notes. The first time I would just go and just listen and try to really just take in all the information, and then I would go rewatch it and I would take notes over it. So that's just something that you could do.
Yes, I know I definitely utilized that before. We have another question. Is tutoring free at UK? Evan, do you want to talk about tutoring?
So one of the great things about being an ANS is there's so many different free tutoring options available. So first there's the study. There's, I think, 3 different locations on campus now. And so with that, that's a lot of intro classes. So your bio, math, physics, things like that. You can go in, they're open. There's different hours for the different classes, but there are tutors in there who have made an A or B in the class. And so you can go in and get help with homework, projects, just reviewing content. And there's also different learning centers in the science buildings. So there's a biology, chemistry, and organic learning center. And so with those, it's also similar to the study. It's staffed by students who have done very well in the courses, and they are handpicked by the instructors. And then with the chemistry and organic learning centers, those are staffed by the TAs who teach those courses. So all of these tutoring places, they are free to students. It's a great place to find kind of mentorships with upper level students who have taken the classes that you are going through. I tell students coming in, there's this stigma with tutoring, I guess, kind of in high school, where tutoring is for people who aren't doing well in the courses or students who are failing. But in college, people who are going to tutoring are sometimes, straight A students. And so that's how they're maintaining their grades, is they're constantly getting help, constantly working with other students and reviewing. And so I would definitely recommend taking advantage of these free tutoring resources at UK.
Yes. Does anyone else have anything to add about the tutoring here at UK? Yeah, I know I have definitely taken advantage of those learning centers that Evan was talking about. So just being able to drop by, get help from teaching assistants, and often professors will actually have their office hours in those learning centers. So I think Flora mentioned Dr. Mirabito was her favorite professor, and I know he's one that holds office hours in the Biology Learning Center, which is a very casual way just to drop by, get free help on your homework, and get in touch with your professors and get to know them a little bit better. So that's another plus about those learning centers. We have a question that says, what study abroad opportunities are there for a biology major? And I'm sure we could also talk about for other majors as well. I know, Evan, you studied abroad, correct? So you could talk a little bit about this.
There are so many study abroad opportunities at UK. There is the website that you can go and just search and look through those for yourself. The study abroad that I did was actually with Dr. Krupa, who was my favorite professor, and we went to the Galapagos. A lot of times you hear as a biology major and a lot of science majors, it's difficult to study abroad during the semester. And if that's the case, I don't want students to get, I guess, down on that, because there are so many opportunities over winter break, over summer break, spring break. And so that's what I did. I took advantage of a summer study abroad course. So we were in Lexington for 2 weeks and we did courses in Lexington. And then we went to the Galapagos for 3 weeks and we stayed with host families there. And we worked with a local researcher and we were studying Darwin's finches. So it was very hands-on. We were drawing labs on the birds, we were catching them and getting biological and genetic data from them for later research. And so it was a very real world experience. You got the science side of it, and then you had the cultural immersion side, living with the host families, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I also tell students there are a lot of scholarship opportunities with study abroad. So if that is a factor that you are worried about, there is a lot of help there. So
awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. Has anyone else here been abroad or had any experience with the study abroad office?
I did not study abroad, but I went abroad with an organization to shadow and volunteer. It's through an organization called MedLife, and we went to Cusco, Peru, and we stayed there for 10 days. So it's very short, and it was just shadowing experience. We would go out and into the communities that couldn't really make it to the city to get healthcare, and we would provide them with free healthcare. We shadowed a dentist, two family doctors, an OBGYN, and a pharmacist. So that was all really exciting and neat to experience. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. So if you're just looking to go for a short amount of time and you don't want to take a class and you just want to go volunteer or shadow, that's something you could look into.
Yes, that brings up like a really important idea of like study abroad being more than just taking classes abroad. So like Cameron said, she went through a program that let her shadow abroad. There's also a lot of programs here on campus that do service or research abroad. So specifically for me, I was a part of a group called Alternative Service Breaks, which is kind of exactly how it sounds. On our breaks, so like summer break, winter break, spring break, they take trips. They're both national and international trips that you can choose to go on, and you're just serving your community. So for me, since I'm interested in medicine, we did just kind of a more local trip, and we served at a camp for kids with illness and disability, which was an amazing experience. I went twice, 2 years in a row. But I know they also do trips to like the Dominican Republic to teach English to the Spanish-speaking population down there. There's a lot of options in that realm. But Study Abroad Office has an amazing website. And if you look on it, it'll actually separate all of your study abroad experiences by like interest or major. So if you're looking for specific opportunities in the biology major, you could look up biology, and they actually have a few listed here on the website now. So there's a trip that goes to the Netherlands, Amsterdam specifically, and they are studying infectious disease. I know there was also a trip to Amsterdam last summer, or I think it was 2 summers ago because of COVID. So 2 summers ago, they were studying like the healthcare system and drug effects in that area. So a lot of very interesting both study abroad options for taking classes and service and research abroad opportunities if you're interested. And there's counselors that can help you figure out, money and scholarships, or like how to get there, how to get back. There's a lot of support for study abroad for sure. So she had a follow-up question: how are studying abroad programs funded? So like Evan mentioned, there are a lot of scholarships that you can look into that'll help partially fund your trip. But normally you would, so if it's like a traditional study abroad where you are taking like a class, you're paying for the class. So say it's a 3 credit hour class, you pay kind of like the normal fee that you would take a lot of times to take a class here at UK, but you would just have to then also pay for like your flights and everything like that abroad. Does anyone else have anything to add on to like funding for study abroad? Okay, and if you do have more questions, you could always reach out to the Office of Study Abroad, and they have people who are like wholly dedicated to helping you find scholarships, helping you fund your trip to make it feasible. That way you don't feel like, no one should feel like they can't study abroad just because of the money. So they do a really great job of making sure that if that's what you want to do, that you can do it. We have another question here, and it's actually about diversity on campus and how if anyone's ever felt like discriminated against or anything like that. So does someone want to kind of jump in and talk about diversity on campus?
I think when it comes to this topic, it's very difficult to kind of have a cookie cutter answer, because I think with everyone's experience, no matter, what your ethnicity or your socioeconomic background is, you kind of run into, some type of comment or something that is targeted against you or your group. But that's something that you kind of run into, I believe, in any campus, any college campus, or even in public. I think what makes the difference when it comes to, specifically coming to the University of Kentucky, is once you actually meet those niches and those groups, once you join, whether it be a sorority or a fraternity, or even a club that you're very, very well like invested in, whether it be a culturally based club or just even like a math club, whatever it is, when you find your people and the people that you're comfortable with, you really create that atmosphere where no matter what comes at you, you're confident and strong in your identities, whatever they like, however they intersect.
Thank you. Yeah, and we also have a lot of really great resources on campus to help people like feel like they belong, or if you are experiencing like issues, to help find the correct people to kind of counsel you through that. So we have free counseling here on campus. And also we have a lot of groups like the Indian Student Association, the Latino Student Union, Black Student Union, all of these really great organizations on campus that are kind of built to help you find people like you and like cherish that diversity, and really, I guess like they have a lot of, like, for example, the Indian Student Association, I can talk about that a little bit because 2 of my roommates are part of that, and they're both Indian, and they put on a lot of the Indian holiday celebrations, so like Diwali and Holi. They have celebrations all around campus just to kind of make campus feel a little more like home for those who are from India and missing that kind of cultural celebration. The Black Student Union, I know, puts on like a huge, it's called BSU Apollo, and it's like a talent show that kind of cherishes like African American and diverse artists, so like dancers, singers, all that kind of stuff. So you can definitely find your niche here at UK. Let's see, we have another question that asks, how big are most classes? Evan, do you want to take that one?
So I will say initially in your intro classes, they are going to be bigger. So these are going to be your intro bio, intro chem, because so many different majors have to take those classes. So those are going to be in the bigger lecture halls. I will say even in those big lecture halls, they do a great job of facilitating peer and group work and participation. And so I never felt like I was lost in a big group of 100 plus students. But as you go in and get into your major and get into your focus, the classes do shrink. And so right now, a couple of my classes are like 16 students. I have one that's about 20. So a lot of my classes now are smaller, are more focused. But the great thing about UK is that they do try and do, it's called cohort scheduling. So they schedule you with a lot of the same students in your major. So as you're going through, you're building these study groups, you're building these friendships and relationships, and you can maintain those through the 4 years. So you're seeing a lot of the same faces. And so even like I said early on, when you do have those giant classes, they don't feel that big.
Yes. Does anyone else want to add on to that?
I'll say that in my general chemistry classes and my organic chemistry classes, they were larger lecture halls, but Dr. Stillman would always have a group work day where she would just sit at the front of the classroom and let anyone answer any questions that they had. And she would also have some past students and some TAs come and walk around the room and answer any questions that anyone has, just to make sure that everyone was caught up and feeling like they knew the material as well as possible.
Lauren, did you have something to add?
Yes, I was just going to say that some of my bigger classes, I found that if I just sat towards, it wasn't as bad. It didn't seem as scary because everybody was behind you and you could still focus on the teacher pretty well, and you didn't have as many distractions. Because I know that's a big people, like everyone, am I going to be distracted? Am I going to be able to see the teacher? Like, am I going to hear them? So basically I just found that sitting in the front worked for me, and it helped me in the bigger classroom setting. But a lot of people, like everyone else said, it's not that bad.
Yes, I agree. And just to add on a little bit to what they were all saying, a lot of these bigger classes, so like I know my math class was larger freshman year, and like the general chemistry and biology classes, they actually break into smaller groups called recitations. So often if you feel a little bit like uncomfortable asking questions in a bigger lecture hall, once or twice a week your recitation will meet, which basically takes that 200 person lecture hall and breaks it into a group of just 10 or 20. And then in your group of 20, you'll go through like problem sets and just get to know the material a little bit better. So that can kind of help a bigger class feel smaller. And additionally, as you kind of go into your more advanced classes, junior and senior year, they will get smaller and smaller. And then finally, if you are part of the honors college, which I'm a part of, and I know a few of our ambassadors are as well, they kind of pride themselves on the fact that they have smaller class sizes. So most honors classes are only about 15 to 20 people. So you get that like one-on-one time with your professor and fellow students as well. Just a reminder to keep sending in your questions. So we probably have time for several more. So make sure if you do have any last minute questions to get those in. I see we have another question that says, are the iPads helpful with studying? Flora, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, actually, I was actually within the class that came in right before all the students got iPads. But thanks to the system that UK kind of has right now with COVID, if you're having any technology issues, they were issuing iPads to students. And I got one of those just because I live in an area in Kentucky now where my Wi-Fi isn't the greatest. So I got a little hotspot and an iPad. But it's honestly made a difference in how I take my notes specifically. I feel like I'm able to download the PowerPoints because some professors will allow for that feature where you can download their PowerPoints before class. And I was able to go in and actually highlight before class what I thought were going to be like the key things that he would mention or she would mention. And I felt like that really prepared me mentally for what was coming in that class. So I could already have those sections highlighted and then add in little like bullet points underneath of what I heard them say in class. So I think that's what it really changed.
Great. What about, does anyone else have anything to add about the iPads? Yeah, I think a lot of us, we were, like Flora mentioned, the class like right before the iPads were given to students for free. So personally, I do not have one. And And I haven't found like a huge, like I'm not struggling to study without my iPad, but I do know that it has helped a lot of students who got them in grades below us. And my roommate actually just got one. She just like ended up buying one for herself since we are going to medical school in the fall. And she really enjoys taking notes on the iPads. And it helps a lot because you can like connect it up to, she has a MacBook, and so she can be like kind of looking through a textbook on her iPad and then helping her do homework questions on her like Mac. It's just kind of an extra piece of technology to make your life a little bit easier. So that is something exciting that UK gives their students. All right, so yes, keep sending in your questions. We definitely have time for a few more if you can think of any. Do you guys do a lot of lab work? Someone want to start us out on lab work?
Sorry. What I was gonna say is when it comes to the intro level chemistry courses, I feel that's when I was in a lab a lot more. Even with organic chemistry, I feel like I was doing a lot more lab work. And that's pretty much it. I think it depends on if you're doing research as well. You'll be in a lab setting more often, depending on what your research is, of course. I'm sure Evan can add a bit more to it. But when it comes to those intros, so like Chem 105 and Chem 107 and 109, you are going to be taking a lab component as well, just to supplement the class. And it depends on your major, of course, if you're required to take the lab. But if you're a bio major, for example, you would have to take that component as well, including organic chemistry 1 and organic chemistry 2.
Yes, and I've actually found that I enjoyed a lot of the labs that we had to take that were like paired with the classes. So it was kind of neat. Like in organic chemistry, we would learn about something and then we get to actually like perform it in the lab. So that was just kind of a great extra added on to like your education, just to try to make things a little more tangible instead of just always in the classroom. And it does help with writing as well. So as you know, like whatever future profession you're going to be in, like 99, 100% of the time you're going to have to be writing. And even in science, right, we have lab reports. And especially if you're in research, you're going to be writing grant proposals and like writing up, you know, the results of your experiments. And that's what those labs really help you do too, is it helps you take what you're kind of physically doing in the lab and write out a full report, you know, understand your results and your methods. So scientific writing, at least mine, has really improved since taking those labs. And it kind of is what you make it. So like Flora mentioned, if you're interested in research, you can definitely do a lot more lab work if that's what you want to do. If you're not a fan of the lab, you can just kind of do what's required of you, get your experience, and then never be in a lab again. So it's kind of up to you. We have another question. I'm a newcomer coming in. I was wondering, are most classes going to be online due to the pandemic? Someone want to take this one?
So from what I've seen, they're not going to be. For next year, I've already scheduled my classes, and every single one says in person and it has a location. I can't say for sure that that'll stay because it obviously depends on the state of the pandemic and we can't predict the future, but UK is really hopeful. We've gotten multiple emails about how we're going to return to normal and how that's the plan and how they want those things to be back to mostly the way that they were before the pandemic, and they plan for most classes to be in person.
Yes, I know a lot of people are very excited for that, especially with the vaccines rolling out, and UK has done an amazing job like with students and handling the pandemic so far. So we get COVID tested, I believe it's like once a month or every other month, and you know, follow all the guidelines. So hopefully by the time fall comes around, everything will still kind of be how it is now or better. And yes, the plan is to have in-person classes. Another question says, are most of the science-related classes in a local area on campus, or are they widespread? Cameron, do you want to take this one?
So most of my classes have been within the Jacob Science Building or the Thomas Hunt Morgan Bio Building, and those are very close together. They're literally just like right across the street. Your freshman year, when you're taking your core classes, that is when your classes could be spread out over campus. You could have classes in Funkhauser or Whitehall, but still it's not very far from JSB or the Thomas Hunt Morgan Bio Building. I don't think that any buildings are necessarily too far for you to walk from one place to the other in the given amount of time that they give you.
Yes, I agree. I've never had an issue with like having only 10 minutes between classes and not being able to get there on time, for example. So the nice thing about UK's campus that I really like is I feel like it is a slightly larger campus, so you don't feel like you're just kind of stuck in one place the whole time. But it still is small enough to where you could walk from, one end to another in about 20 minutes. And that's if you're going to like the very outskirts, which is like the gym and like the residence halls on North Campus. But most of the academic areas are towards like the center, so you shouldn't be doing anything, no like marathons to get to your class or anything like that. All right, so you might have time for a few more questions if you want to keep sending those in before we wrap up here shortly.
I will add to the last question while we're waiting on a few more, just that when you're scheduling, you can go online and there is like kind of like it's UK's own Google Maps, and you can type in like, I'm pretty sure it's just on the UK website, and you can type in, okay, like this class says it's in Funkhauser, and then I have a next class in 10 minutes that's in JSB, and I can type in like, I'm going from point A to point B, and it'll come up and it'll say, oh, it's a 5-minute walk. And you can be like, okay, I can do that in 10 minutes. And so you can kind of get a better gauge too of the certain classes you're signing up for, and if you think you'll have time to get from class to class.
Great, thank you. So John just said he's late to joining, so perhaps you've already talked about this, but do any of you do research? So we did kind of mention this at the beginning, so you can feel free to kind of, once this ends, you can go back and watch it. But in the meantime, maybe do one or two of you guys want to talk about your research real quick, because I know we love talking about research here. UK is a huge research institution.
So
Go ahead, Evan.
I was just going to say my research, I ended up doing research in the College of Agriculture. I am a biology major, and when I was looking for research opportunities, I thought, I want to do medicine in the future. I'm learning a lot about the human body. I'm learning a lot about animals, but I haven't learned a lot about plants. So I decided to go into plant research, and we researched genes in the embryonic development of plants. And so that was really cool. It was more of a learning experience of learning how to do a lot of different, DNA research, genomic research, things like that. And so while it may not directly apply to my maybe future in healthcare, it was a huge learning opportunity for me. And I would recommend that to whoever's interested in it, just to spread your horizons, see what else is out there, and learn something while at it. So.
Yes, there's definitely research for everyone at UK. I was mentioning before that the Office of Undergraduate Research has its own website. So if you want to look that up, you can see all of the research and all the professors and what they're doing. So anything from, medical research to political science to like environmentalism, anything you're interested in, you can definitely find something that you can join. And it's very easy, very simple. 99% of professors would love to have undergrads helping them out in the lab. So definitely something to get involved in if you are interested in. And then Miranda Brown, so I'm a newcomer as well. I was curious if there is a possibility of study abroad programs for a neuroscience major. So we did kind of talk about this earlier as well, so feel free to go back into the YouTube once this is over. But the Study Abroad website also has a whole list of options for study abroad, and they group it by major. So you can definitely click on neuroscience. I know for a fact that they have one in the Netherlands where they looked at the healthcare system there, as well as kind of like drug abuse and the effects of drugs in that area. So that would be a very cool like neuroscience opportunity, but there are tons of study abroad options. So feel free to look at that website and kind of see all that they have to offer.
To add to that, I highly recommend you set up an appointment with your study abroad advisor. So there's different ones associated with like the colleges and what your major is, and they are really good about like presenting to you the options. For the most part, they'll have you do the website that Lindsay mentioned, where you can actually kind of put in filters as to what your interests are, and it'll give you the study abroad programs that are available for that interest. But the advisors are really good about guiding you down that pathway and like kind of helping you figure out what your interests are, especially if you're not really sure what your major would be. You could always talk to them, and they're really good about it.
Yes, and I just saw this kind of follow-up question for Evan about your research. John asked, what were some of the tasks you did there, and how did you work with the professors?
In my lab, we had, so the PI, the head professor, would meet with us. I researched, I guess, 3 times a week, and he would meet with us once a week, go over the procedures and things that we would be doing for that week, go over any questions we might have, maybe do a couple demonstrations. And then I had a lab mentor who was 1 year older than me. She had been working in that lab for a couple years, and so she was with me every day, walking me through all of the lab procedures that we did. Some of the things that we were doing, it was really cool. We did a lot of PCR and gel electrophoresis. So we are working on denaturing DNA, and then we were inserting our own genes in certain DNA. And then we would insert that DNA into plants and see how that affected the plants. So we were doing a lot of, I guess, bench research. So a lot of chemicals, a lot of genomics, like I said earlier. And so it was really hands-on. And then towards the end, it was more of a plant nursery. So I genetically engineered seeds, and then I planted those seeds and grew the plants. And then I did the same thing for a couple generations. And so I was able to compare all of the different plants I had grown, which is really cool because I usually kill any plant that I try and grow. So to be able to see those plants that I had actually grown was really cool for me.
Wow, yeah, that sounds very exciting. Just proving all the kinds of possibilities you have with research at UK. And like Evan said, that was specific to her research. Everyone's going to be slightly different depending on the lab you join. But the nice thing is your professors are not just going to like throw you in there and be like, figure it out. It's very much like you get a mentor. They kind of help you through it, show you the ropes. That way, maybe one day you could be training, the next undergraduate student if you're continuing on in that lab. So Reagan asked, during orientation, was it relatively easy to schedule the class times that you preferred? Cameron, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So prior to your orientation, I'm pretty sure what happened to me was UK had already given me a schedule that they thought would be best for me. But during your orientation, I did have to change a few classes and times. So during your orientation, you will go in a room with an advisor, and you can talk to that advisor. You have time to figure out what you want to take, talk to him, discuss different times and different professors, and then you have a registration time, and during that time is when you register. So I remember not being stressed at all. I remember wondering the same exact thing, if I was going to be able to change my classes or my times. But once I met in the room with him and he helped me, it was so much easier. And I was able to register within minutes. So.
Good. Does anyone have anything else to add? Yeah, I will say sometimes if you have like a later orientation date, so I know for me, I couldn't make up my mind like what college to go to. So I had probably one of the later orientation dates. And even then I still got in every single class that I wanted to get in. So sometimes there may be one class that might be full, but the nice thing about UK is we do offer a lot of different classes and a lot of sections of each class. So somehow there's going to be a way where you can put your schedule together and you'll get the classes you need to graduate. I've never really heard of anyone having too much trouble. Maybe they just might have to take like a 9 a.m. section instead of a noon. So they have to get up a little bit earlier or something like that. But yeah, like Cameron said, that'll all be figured out during your orientation. You'll have advisors present and they make it as stress-free as possible for you. All right, we have a question from Lucas. He says, for people from small towns, how does the big city of Lexington compare? Let's see, Lauren, you mentioned you were from a small town in West Virginia, right? Do you want to take this one on?
Yes. I am from a smaller town in West Virginia, and there isn't much to do there. So, it takes me 30 minutes to get to like Chick-fil-A or things like that. So coming to Lexington, it's very different. It's a different, you have to get used to the traffic and stuff like that. But it's really nice having opportunities and things to do like right at your fingertips. And you don't really need, if you have a car, you can use that to get around Lexington. But the nice thing about UK is it's right near downtown and it's right in the center of things. So you don't really have to have a car. You can still go do things off campus or even on campus. And it's really nice to have like a bunch of different opportunities. And just like when you want a study break, there's always something you can go do. And being somebody who loves to be involved in things, it's a very great place to live because you just have so many different things you can go explore and see and do.
Yes, I agree. Anyone else have something to add about the city of Lexington? I'll say I guess Cincinnati is really close to me. I'm from Northern Kentucky, so kind of from the opposite view, instead of like small town to Lexington, I guess I went from like a bigger city to Lexington is more of like a medium-sized city. But I will say like Lexington kind of has it all. Like it's the perfect size. It's not super overwhelming. And I've never really felt unsafe in any of the areas like you might kind of in larger cities like Chicago or New York or something. But I think Lexington still offers all the benefits of a city, right? Like the different, like the restaurants and the like adventures and just like things to do. So I think Lexington kind of is the best of both worlds because it does, if you're coming from a small town, it's definitely going to feel bigger. There's going to be a lot more to do, but it's not going to feel too big. And I've always felt very safe in the city, which is something that was really important to me. So. All right. So if you guys have any last minute questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. But I'll kind of go over some things that you can think about for like next steps. So what should you do now after watching this YouTube live? So if you haven't, definitely apply to UK. We all want you here. We're very excited that you came and kind of listened to us and asked us questions. So if you haven't, go ahead and apply to UK. Also, go ahead and take a visit here. So we do a lot of like campus visits. We have arts and sciences specific visits, even down to like if you're interested in biology, chemistry, or neuroscience, there's a BCN visit for that. There's a political science visit. So I would encourage you to sign up, get on campus. You can see for yourself how beautiful it is, how much we all love being here. And that'd be a great way. You can also like meet with professors, meet personally with us if you're interested in that. So you can go to our website, sign up for a visit. And if you have done all of that and you want to come to UK, go ahead and confirm your orientation. Sign up on your My UK account. I know we're doing orientations like all summer long, so you can sign up for your classes there, sign up for housing, all that good stuff just to kind of confirm your spot in, I guess that'd be fall or the UK class of 2025. That's very exciting. So I don't see any other questions rolling in. So thank you all for joining us. I know we all had a really great time kind of sharing all of our experiences with you all, and I hope it was very helpful. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to any of us or all of us. We are all on UK's website. If you go to the College of Arts and Sciences and look up ambassadors, you can find any of us, or there's also more ambassadors as well. You can contact us with any questions. Does anyone else have any last minute things to say? All right. Bye, everyone.